As a child, chair shots were one of my favorite spots in pro wrestling. Straight metal to the head. That cathartic noise it made. Unless you were some tank, usually meant that's all, folks. But now, after seeing the lasting effects of the chair shot and the lifelong lasting injuries it's caused, now I understand why it has become banned and want to explain its path to becoming banned and why. Wild Bill Curry was the first wrestler documented to use the steel chair to his advantage. But Dory Funk Sr. went on to popularize and build notoriety towards the use of chairs during his infamous Texas death matches back in the late 1960s and 1970s. And after that, wrestlers continued to use chairs in the ring for decades, usually referred to as foreign objects or to wear down the opponent by taking a chair across their back. It wasn't until the late 1990s that chair shots changed with the rise of Extreme Championship Wrestling, also known as ECW, and WWE's Attitude Era, which sought to pull the sport from its super beefy comic book cartooning characters and make it more visceral. This increased the risk, danger, and violence of the product in a battle of one-upmanship to win over an audience with unquenchable bloodlust. The chair shot was swept up in this movement, reimagined as blows to the head, often unprotected. So dudes was getting blasted in the head all the way up until about 2007 when WWE superstar Chris Benoit murdered his family before killing himself in their Atlanta home. People investigated for explanations in the wake of the tragedy, as Benoit's close friends insisted this heinous crime seemed out of character. A post-mortem showed that the 40-year-old had the brain of an 85-year-old Alzheimer's patient. To this day, Benoit's father claims his actions were the result of brain injuries his son sustained while wrestling. One of the most used clips of Benoit adopted by the 24-hour news cycle as his story unfolded was of him being hit in the head with a chair. I understand there were discussions about trying to do it safely without causing brain trauma, but I think the lesson from this is that there's always a chance for human error, says Chris Nowinski, a former WWE wrestler and co-founder of the Concussion Legacy Foundation. You have to look at the risk factor for a chair shot to the head. Nowinski retired from wrestling in 2003 with post-concussion syndrome, which eventually led to him to develop the foundation with neurosurgeon Dr. Robert Cantu. Nowinski advises athletes on the risk of chronic traumatic encephalopathy and holds seminars for current WWE superstars on the importance of being safe in the ring. My life is now focused on protecting brains and trying to fix ones that have already been damaged, Nowinski says. He can't point to a specific moment that ended his wrestling career, but remembers when he decided enough was enough and after a series of undiagnosed concussions took a significant toll on his body and mind. One night, while still asleep, Nowinski stood on his bed and jumped off, crashing through a nightstand. He later learned it was a sign of REM behavior disorder, which typically comes with traumatic brain injury. It's simple. If you want to see that kind of violence, then watch boxing or MMA, Nowinski says, which I do. If you want to see some of the best performers on the planet live for decades, then you should support them performing safely. You should respect them enough to let them perform safely. Today, steel folding chairs are synonymous with pro wrestling. This has come at the cost of lessening its impact. Added to this is the banning of chair shots to the head following the Benoit tragedy, and the use of lighter steel chairs. Like many staples of hardcore wrestling, modern uses of chairs is understandably more conservative.